Welcome to Story for All. My name is Alora Scott. I am a storyteller, an illustrator, and a Super Saiyan. Here, I like to talk about the beautiful art of storytelling in all its mediums. This week, I want to focus on my second favorite fictional series and the concept of transformation and growth in storytelling. I think that we watch, read, enjoy, and partake in stories because they are about change, and we are changing beings ourselves. There's going to be spoilers all throughout this video. George R.R. Martin, creator of A Song in Ice and Fire, my second favorite fictional series, has character growth, adventures, and stories galore in his massive A Song of Ice and Fire world. But I wanted to talk about 5 characters whose stories of change and growth can teach us how we can wisely incorporate that into our own storytelling and what to look for in good storytelling that we enjoy out in the wild. So let's talk about it. One of the first things about transformation and growth that I like to look at is the concept of a character setting up or determining their own truth. Jaime Lannister's story is, to me, one where he becomes the man that he's always seen for himself. So Jaime starts off as a fucking villain. Duh. He starts off as a fucking villain. He tries to kill a child who caught him sleeping with his sister. He has illegitimate children with her. She's the queen. It's a whole thing. It's not until A Storm of Swords, Book 3 in George R.R. Martin's series, that we get point of view chapters of Jaime, as well as his journey to humility. Jaime goes on a return mission with Brienne of Tarth, a woman who is young and idealistic about knighthood, fighting, and chivalry in the books. And in a way, it reminds Jaime of himself when he was a child, before all the horrible past things that you get to experience with him happened to him. This is one fucking hell of an adventure. Jaime ends up losing his arm, being saved by Brienne of Tarth, saving Brienne of Tarth, and it changes him. It changes how he views himself, because at this point, Jaime is very self-loathing. He has a bad reputation for a number of reasons. First, to start, he killed the previous Targaryen king, even though he's on the Kingsguard, so his job is to die for the king, not kill the king, which soured his reputation, and he just moves along through life carrying this shield of defensiveness about him. Plus, he also is in love with his sister, and he gave up his life to be close to his sister, which led to him killing the king. But that is the good thing about Jaime's adventure with Brienne, is that he changes the way he sees himself, the way he feels he should act, especially after losing his hand, which he takes pride in. He takes pride in his swordsman skills. So when he loses his hand, he feels like he's lost a part of himself. He has to build a new existence from that. He's not going to lay down and die, so he has to decide who he wants to be from that point on. Where are we with Jaime in the books? I want to do some speculation because the books are unfinished, and I want to share my thoughts on where I think these stories are going. So when it comes to Jaime Lannister, you know, there's been mentions of him referring to himself as Golden Hand the Just. Cersei is on trial for her bullshit, and Jaime is done with her because he found out she was cheating on him with numerous men, and he's just done. He'd given up his entire life to be with her, and he took his love for her seriously. And now, after finding out she uses men, manipulates them, and she's on trial for adultery and all other kinds of stuff, he is done with her. Now, where does Brienne come in that? When Brienne comes to Jaime again after maybe, a year separated, she's in bad shape, and she is leading Jaime to a trap, which he doesn't know about, but he cares about her. He sees she looks fucked up. He believes her lie that she's using to lure him in, and he leaves alone with her, which is, well, we'll see. He might die when Brienne leads him to that trap. He might help escape. There's a lot of things, but I feel like there has to be a conclusion to Jaime's story that includes both Cersei and Brienne. They're two pivots in his life. Two pivots. One, Cersei, his love for Cersei pivoted him into a lot of negative experiences, while his love for Brienne, which is a harder love, to me, it's a love that is born to fight for. But it's the one where he builds himself in his own image. So I think that he won't be like the perfect knight in golden shining armor, but I do think he will put himself in a path to do well and to do right, and ultimately to fight the others at the very end of our epic story, whenever that will be finished. And that's why I think, like I said before, the concept of making your own truth, especially from hard circumstances, is important for transformation and growth in storytelling, but it's also something that's important that we should reflect upon in ourselves. I really hope Sansa Stark's story in the books is one where she triumphs through revelation. Sansa is an intelligent, well-bred classic girl in the A Song of Ice and Fire universe, but she is being manipulated because of her political value. So right now, where we are with Sansa is that she has been taken being a political prisoner from King's Landing and been brought to the Vale by Peter Baelish, who killed her aunt, who ran the Vale, and seized power for himself. She, right now, is posing as a bastard daughter of Peter Baelish, and he has a whole plan for her that involves conspiracy and a lot of scheming. Peter has convinced Sansa through some hell of a way, through his manipulations and scheming of the other belligerent lords of the Vale, that he can deliver her an army to return her home to Winterfell. I talk about revelation because Sansa is learning duplicity with Peter Baelish. She's learning how to hide her identity, collect information, use her charms to get in with the higher upper echelon of the Vale, who look down upon her because they think she's a bastard. They don't know who she is. Or do they? I think her trajectory in the story is going to be her somehow taking down Littlefinger after finding a truth within herself or a truth within his misdeeds towards her or towards her family. Right now, Peter Baelish is consistently poisoning her sick little cousin to seize power, like ultimate power of the Vale, because he would basically destroy the leading family of that region in Westeros. So I'm hoping that Sansa's story of revelation is she comes to understand that Peter is manipulating her, and she comes to use her own skills that she's learning at his instruction and her skills that she's learned in King's Landing trying to survive. I hope that this will culminate into a revelation of not only the lies being told to her and the harm that she could be put into, but a way for her to stand up for herself and seize her own power. So that's what I'm really hoping for Sansa's story, through the concept of revelation. Third concept to me of transformation and growth is losing yourself. And Bran Stark is the character who immediately makes me think of someone who's losing themselves. So I was gonna talk about Arya, but I think I'm gonna talk about her, and I'm probably gonna talk about her like 10,000 more times, but I wanna talk about her story and losing oneself in another video. But Bran Stark, right now, he in the book has found the cave with the three-eyed crow, and he is learning how to use his powers as a greenseer, a warg, to harness the power of the weirwood network. Why do I say Bran is losing himself? Well, it all starts when he begins warging into his wolf. Bran was disabled by Jaime Lannister, permanently cannot use his legs after being pushed from a window. And he starts to access the mind and body of his direwolf, Summer. And as time goes on through the books, Bran becomes more in tune with his warging and wolf blood. The Three-Eyed Crow has been calling Bran in his dreams since he was put in a coma when he was initially pushed from the window. And at this point in the books, he has finally made it to the Three-Eyed Crow's cave, which is way up north, past the wall, where it's frozen, cold, snow, and everything's dead and dying, and the walkers or the White Walkers, are just fucking everywhere. Bloodraven is no help in showing Bran what he might become. He is part tree. He has branches and roots woven through his body, growing out of his one eye, missing eye socket. You see that Bloodraven is not even a person of this world anymore. He's 150 years old, something like that. He spends his time watching through the trees, through time and space. This is who Bran is being trained under, and Bran is seeing the things of the past. He's just learned, he's also warging into crows. My predictions for the trajectory of Bran's story in A Song of Ice and Fire is, I don't think he's leaving that cave. So Bran has been using his powers more and more, pushing the boundaries of his powers more and more. And according to some in the book legends and lore, Bran has already broken some of the sacred rules that come with warging, like never warg another person. He does not have that boundary, and I wonder how far he'll go with that power and his knowledge that is increasing with the Three-Eyed Crow. And if there will be morality to Bran and his warging, if he is going to develop or lose his conscience, if he's going to lose his conscience in exchange for the power that he's developing. I don't know if he's going to become a taproot for the weirwood tree, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those powers come to his character and to the story overall. Number 4, becoming a villain. Transformation and growth. Like, people love villains, and villain stories have been really good lately, and I want to go off of George R.R. Martin's quote of Tyrion Lannister. I've got to admit, I kind of like Tyrion Lannister. He's the villain, of course, but hey, there's nothing like a good villain. I mean, everybody's been tipped off to this. Everybody's been making theories about Tyrion's villainy, and I am no different. So first, I want to say the books aren't finished, as we know, but George R.R. Martin could be fucking lying. Now that we've gotten that out the way, I definitely can see Tyrion's arc going heavy into villainy. Tyrion's story is a lot of things. It's about the loss of love or not having access to love, Tyrion's disability as a dwarf, the sins of the father, his access to wealth, his nihilism, his hedonism. It's a mixture. He blames society for the way he's treated for something he cannot control, but he also plays into his role. He starts off as a character we all root for. Just because he is a dwarf and he is mistreated because of it, he still in the beginning seems to find ways to rise above, and we root for him. He's intelligent, he's clever, he's good at reading people, He's good at getting out of people's schemes and making up his own. Why do we think Tyrion is going to become a villain? What is the trajectory of his story right now? Tyrion is at his fucking breaking point, and he keeps getting lower and lower. So at the end of A Storm of Swords, Tyrion kills his father in a fit of dark rage because Jaime had revealed to Tyrion that his wife, Tysha, who Tywin Lannister separated from Tyrion in one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. Jaime admitted to Tyrion that Tysha was his wife and had always loved him. And this is a trauma that has been with Tyrion his entire life. So he goes and kills his father, but not before finding his ex-lover, Shae, in his father's bed. And he kills her first. Shae is a victim in this as well. Tyrion had basically owned her when he dragged her off a battlefield to be his personal whore. Tyrion convinces himself it's love, when it is not love. It is a beneficial relationship from both ends. He pulled her into a dangerous situation because she could not leave. She also was living the high life. Like, he used his wealth to keep her with him. By book 5, A Dance with Dragons, Tyrion is full of self-loathing, guilt, revenge, anger, and a part of him just wants to die. A part of him curses that he was born. He becomes a slave, and he maneuvers after his slave owner dies. He maneuvers himself to be in a position where he can get a sellsword company to start working with Daenerys Targaryen. That's where Tyrion is in the book, and there's a lot to speculate off of his trajectory. It's clear as fucking day that Tyrion wants to meet Daenerys because everyone wants to meet Daenerys. She has dragons. What we're not sure will happen is how Tyrion will turn this potential alliance with Daenerys, or this potential access to ultimate power, into an arc that is devastating to our characters and to the world, the story in general. Tyrion wants to kill his brother and sister. He's already killed his father. He hates the land of Westeros that rejected him and scorned him and would have reveled in his death had he been executed. He wants Westeros to burn, and he has this conviction that he'll be able to work with Daenerys, convince her and advise her for his own ends. So from there, we can only speculate how he'll be able to maneuver himself with Daenerys, considering all the things she's going through, and how he will be able to influence what happens in Essos and Westeros from that point. So that's why, as story creators, all these elements and events that lead to a character creation should be taken into account, and don't become a villain. And number 5 for creating a story with good transformation and growth is actually transforming and becoming greatness. Daenerys Targaryen's story, to me, embodies that. She is blatantly powerful, overtly magical, beautiful, stunning. She has a lot of weight to bear. The reason why I want to talk about Daenerys specifically is because, to me, in the books to this point, this far, Daenerys has done the largest amount of good. There's no other character that has done something so beneficial of that scale. Daenerys has the greatest power in this known universe. Dragons are a terrifying, coveted thing, and Daenerys has to learn to navigate so many things because of her dragons. People wanting to have her dead because of, and take her power from her. Daenerys right now is under attack by the Dothraki. Her dragon doesn't listen to her. Drogon doesn't listen to her. She has to find a way to get back to Meereen, which is on the brink of war. And she hasn't even faced some of her greater challenges, like meeting Tyrion, how I mentioned before, or meeting Victarion Greyjoy, who's, it seems, is going to assist her in her war, who can be trusted to wield that power with her, and who is an enemy. That's what Daenerys has to work through now politically. But then, politically to start, then you have the entire plot of Volantis and the slave rebellion that all over Essos that just seems right on the knife's edge. The point is about to burst. It's about to burst, and Daenerys, because she's used her dragons to be a symbol of freedom, a symbol of self-determination, she is seen as a beacon for the underclass or the wretched, but she's also seen as a threat by those in power. She's put a big target on her back. So that's important when it comes to transformation and growth. What will Daenerys' story be from that point on? What is the trajectory of her story? Now, we've had clues and hints from George R.R. Martin that the Song of Ice and Fire, of course, includes Daenerys as the fire side, but what does that entail? Is it just dragons? To me, Daenerys' story of fire is dragons, duh. But it's also the will of the people, the will to live, and the will of the people to live. I'm hoping that she will create a huge uprising in Essos and a huge following in Essos that will come over to Westeros to help fight in the War of the Dawn, or the War of the Cold. I don't know if that's going to happen. Anything else could happen. I mean, a lot of people could end up dying because of Daenerys, but I think her story is going to be one of achieving greatness, of handling great power with great responsibility. I know that's cliche to say, but I think it's really important when it comes to her tale, which I sincerely believe is a hero's journey. So those are my thoughts on why George R.R. Martin's transformation and growth type storytelling is really strong and really something we should learn from and love to see in other stories. But now that we've done all the talking about stories, it's time to put it into practice. So I wrote and illustrated a story that I hope y'all will enjoy.
Pencott could go no further. His vision blacked, and he fell to his knees in the water. He crawled, squishing through mud and puddle and vine. Water soaked his shorts to his crotch. His shoes grew pounds heavier. His fingers found dry earth, a mound surrounded by reeds and ferns. He collapsed the moment his feet were on land. Forehead pressed into the soil, Pencott breathed the smell of moist green. His backpack slid up against his back. The voices and gunshots moved further away behind him. Pencott felt around until he found a chunk of log and rested his back against its rotting bark. His chest rose and fell in pants. The fever burned through him. Sweat rolled down his forehead and his back. His eyes were stinging and blurry, bulging from their sockets. "God damn!" Pencott gasped. He reached behind him and dragged his pack off his shoulders and dropped back to the log. He closed his eyes and reached blindly through his pack until his hands closed around his light starter. The lantern clicked, warmed, and flooded the dirt mound in a bright orange glow. Pencott felt it on his skin. Colors blended when he opened his swollen eyes. He tossed the light down by his feet. Then he collapsed backward on the log again. Mosquitoes covered him, biting into every exposed inch of his skin. The sounds of the swamp were the only things that fought the sounds of Pencott's heavy breathing. Beyond the circle of light, Pencott heard the croak of frogs, the buzzing of beetles and dragonflies, the skitter of rodents and snakes in the reeds. "God damn," Pencott gurgled, leaning over for his pack again. His hand gripped his harmonica. He put it to his lips, the holes familiar to him as his own sweating face. His breath burned through his mouth as he played his tune. The mosquitoes flew off him as the notes vibrated the air. Burning tears rolled down his cheeks. His last audience would be the dragonflies, the rodents, the lizards crawling down the tree. When he stopped, his harmonica tumbled from his trembling fingers. The sounds of the swamp stopped. Something else was listening. "There's still some light to share," Pencott wheezed at the visitor who'd made everything still. "I hope you're not finished playing," a scraping, growling voice answered. Tall and slender, a thing dressed in black with a white face emerged from the darkness into Pencott's light. Pencott coughed. His vision blurred on the creature. It stood way above him, looking down. "That was my last. You come too lately." Pencott laughed weakly. "Tuh, such a waste." The thing's voice hissed and growled. Why not just stay quiet? Pencott shook his head against the log. Everything went black. Hearing goes last, Pencott breathed. I can feel the sounds. The creature hummed. Sad thing. I heard you. Cold air brushed Pencott's hot cheeks as he felt the thing kneel down to him. Pencott wasn't sure if his eyes were opened or closed, but he could feel long, stringy hair tickling him from above. You can have my harmonica, Pencott offered the creature. Then it won't be a waste. His fingers twitched, but he was too weak to reach for it. Something immense dropped down at the space by Pencott's hip, where he dropped his harmonica. Cold air prickled him as he heard faint notes above him. Sweat rolled down Pencott's forehead. The thing scraped a nail through the unruly coils on Pencott's head. I'll have it while you sleep, the creature said. Pencott's vision returned for the final time. The thing leaned down over him until all he could see and feel was a white skull with long teeth, long black hair, and one red, bulging eye. The next morning, when Pencott woke up, his fever broke.
Okay, what did you think? Please leave your feedback in the comments for me, and any other thoughts. Leave comments. I want to read them and I want to make friends. If you like my art style and if you like my writing style, I guarantee you will love my nerdy, flirty, illustrated romance called Niche Tales Under Her Skin. I wrote this for you, and if you want to see more of my work, then by all means, please give my website or Amazon a visit and enjoy. But now I want you, if you're a story creator, if you're a story enjoyer, leave some ideas in the comments. But if you're a story creator, I want you to create a piece of any medium, video games, cartoons, TV show, whatever you want to do. I want you to create a story that has a strong grasp of transformation and growth as one of its central themes. And we'll talk about it. Follow me on TikTok, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And that was the show for this week. I hope that you all had fun, and I can't wait to see you next time. Take care.